Okay, so we're seeing positive signs of boards beginning to engage with wellbeing personally, financially, but we're not necessarily seeing boards drive wellbeing. Does that matter? And if so, how do we change it?
Yeah, it matters terribly that the boards drive it. Well, come on, any strategic issue, whether it's an HR strategy, an IT strategy, a marketing strategy, should be driven by board. And that it is important that they drive it and that they have it on their agenda. Now, up until now, they haven't. And what's happened is it's either come from ground up, from bottom to top, by people interested in, like an HR professional somewhere in the organization saying this is really important. Our sickness absence rates are high, or whatever the objective measure is that they're looking at, or it's been led by maybe an senior HR person, or occupational health, or an occupational nurse, or somebody in finance. It could be any of those people driving it. Now, though, what's happened is it's become a board issue. And a lot of HR directors and chief medical officers and people like that we're having more health and well-being directors who sometimes report directly to the CEO. Don't even go via the HR, but sometimes through HR or through occupational health. We're seeing it become a board issue. I was just recently at a construction company, and they have it's an item they actually spend sometimes a half an hour on at a board meeting, senior management board meeting. There's a financial sector one I just went to not too long ago as well, at this top management team, CEO and his team. So it's becoming an interesting board issue, and it will change when, and this is happening too, in many of the FTSE 100 companies now, where it becomes on the annual report, that the issue of well-being, all aspects of well-being, go on the annual report. That will become a board issue for more. But at the moment, not many, but growing.
And I think, interestingly, actually, if you look at engagement, employee engagement with anything, you don't get it if it doesn't come down from the board. You can get a groundswell that's pushing the agenda up, but the best engagement comes down from the board as well as coming up from the ground.
And what effect do you think the ageing workforce is having on wellbeing strategies?
Oh, a fantastic impact. And that's because we have a multi-generational workforce. We have grandparents, parents, kids, and even great-grandparents in the same workforce. And that's really very profound. Of course, because people are working longer, either out of necessity or because they want to. And so we have that, and we have the younger generation. It's having a major impact, but we're not even looking at that really very seriously. And we should be looking at it because with a multi-generational workforce, the difficulties for younger generations to move up the organization is much more limited as people stay on till they're 75, 80. And that's very common now to find 70-year-olds in the workplace. It's not unusual. So we have to really rethink, I think, the nature of what work's about. And also, they have different needs. So millennials have different needs from people. I don't even think people in the future will retire. I think ultimately they'll just either die in office or alternatively, it'll be very, very late when they actually leave the workforce, maybe mid-70s. And so we have to really rethink, I think, the nature of the organizations we have, and how do we get people, how do you pursue a career when people aren't leaving at 65 or 60? Because remember, it even dropped at one point in time, decade and a half ago, down to 60 early retirement age. That's not happening anymore. So it's a really profound well-being issue.
And I think, I think there was some recent research, 2019 CIPD study that said there's 9.4 million workers now that are aged over 50. That's a third of the workplace that's over 50. So again, exactly pulling up on Cary's piece there. But if we think about, there's increasing longevity. The ONS studies show that people are increasingly staying in the workplace longer. And that's bringing the workplace some problems. There's a huge benefit, obviously, in having older workers, in that you've got more experienced workers in the workplace. But there are some problems. It's increasing the people costs, for example. You've got logjam at retirement, so it's affecting succession issues. You know, you have some people in their mid-career looking ahead and going, well, there's no point in me staying because I've got nowhere to move to. You know, you've got issues like that. When we've got, as we have had really for the last 10 years, you've got difficult economic times. What people do in those times is they become more cautious. So perhaps if people were thinking of retiring this year, they're putting that back a year or back a couple of years. So you're getting an even more exacerbated problem.